Morning, everybody. Welcome. We're on the beginning of the parak. This is what? Kuf Yudal Amud Beis, beginning of the 15th parak. Next to the last parak. We had similar Gemara in the 10th parak. We spoke about that Eid Echad is believed to testify that the husband died. And we mentioned over there even that could be the reason why he's believed is because she's also going to check it out. She's not going to get married because there are a lot of consequences if her husband comes back. So there is as far as that daiko mitzvah, and therefore we trust the Eid Echad. Here it talks about the woman.
Yeah, is she believed to save herself?
That's it. She comes without Eid Echad. If the woman went together with her husband overseas and she comes back and she says that he died, but it says here two conditions: shalom beinola beina v'shalom ba'olam. But it has to be that there's peace between them; they're not in some quarrel. And also that there's peace in the world, there's no war. But we're going to see soon that if any one of these two conditions are missing, so then she's not believed. First it says, if it provided that it has these two conditions, she came back and said, my husband died, say she can get married on her own testimony. She's
not going to mess herself up.
Yeah, I guess so. That she's believed. She's not usually believed as an aid, but we trust her.
If she gets into trouble, she has a child.
The Gemara is going to have an issue about maybe she's making a mistake, but it seems that we do trust her. And now, Meis Bali Tisyabim, if it's also the same question, it's not too much more of a chiddush probably, that if they have no children and she's saying, now I have to marry my brother-in-law, so we trust her for that also. I don't know if it's more of a chiddush because the first case is also, she said she was Eishesish and she's marrying, and now she's also, besides being an Eishesish, she's also marrying the brother-in-law. She's trusted for all that and she can get married. But now it says only if those two conditions were fulfilled, that it's shalom beinola beino, shalom ba'olam. But shalom beinola beino, milchama ba'olam, if it's wartime, or the opposite, tata beinola beino, shalom ba'olam, even though it's peacetime, but there happens to be a quarrel between the couple. So then the boss of Amma Meis Bali ain't in that menace. But then she comes and says that my husband died. She's not trusted. When if there's a reason, the question is why. What? So the Gemara is going to talk about in wartime, and the Gemara doesn't talk about ktata, but it seems that if there's a fight between them, so it could be that she would not mind getting married, even though, which is very strange. She knows she's an Eishesish. She knows that she's a married woman, and she's going to testify that her husband died and get married. She knows she's an Eishesish, and what's she going to gain out? The husband's going to come back. What's she going to gain? So she's going to come to her husband. Okay, that she knows what she's doing. She's doing all that amazing. It could be that she really would, she doesn't care about the Aveira, but she wants it to look neat. If she's just going to be Mazana, so then doesn't look so good for her. So she says that she thought that her husband dies. Even if he comes back, maybe it looks better for her. But anyway, she's not believed if either there's a quarrel between her and her wife or if there's war in the world. We'll see about the war, we'll see in the Gemara. Rabbi does a kasha. If she comes back and says her husband died, but she looks fine, she doesn't look nothing emotional, distraught. So that's a problem. Like, why is she not crying? So only if she comes back in a way that we see that she's upset, she's crying, she's torn rent garments. No difference. Even if she comes back and we don't see any emotion, also she's believed. I think that there one also agreed there's a kasha over there. There's a kasha. If she comes back and they don't see any emotion, so there's a problem. There's a kasha. But maybe they say, I didn't see the Gemara yet, but maybe they say that the fact that she could come back with torn clothing and crying, it doesn't show anything more. She could be a good actress, so that doesn't show us anything. But we have to wait for the Gemara. What we have so far, that a woman herself is believed. Before in the 10th paragraph, we had about the Eid Echad being believed. Here it talks about herself being believed, and it says she's believed as long as they have these two conditions, that is shalom, beino, and also shalom, ba'olam. Tana, we learned that advice. Tana shalom beinola beina, mishum dekaboyla misni ktata beinola beina. Tana shalom ba'olam, mishum dekaboyla misni milchama ba'olam. That's a simple, what the Mishnah says, that in the beginning, it could have just said simply, could have said a woman that went with her husband overseas and came back, she's believed. And then it says later on that if there's a wartime or that there's quarrelsome, so then she's not believed. But the Mishnah right away said these two conditions in the beginning, because soon it's going to say that if it's missing these two conditions, any one of these two conditions, so then she's not believed. That's why it says in the beginning, the case is when there's peace between them, because as soon as it's going to say that if there's a quarrel between them, so then she's not believed. And it says that there's peace in the world, because soon it's going to say that when there's a war in the world, so she's not believed. The Gemara now goes to the wartime. Why is wartime the reason that she shouldn't be believed? Amarava, my time at the Muhammad. How come during wartime she's not believed? Because she says bididami. I think the word bididami means like it seems. I'm not sure the word domeh. Rashi says the word omed. I'm not sure if Rashi is translating the word, but she says evaluating means that she sizes up the situation and says he definitely died, and really she didn't see he actually died. And the Gemara quotes what you would be saying. Who palat? Does it enter your mind like that? She says, like, is it possible that all these people got killed and he did not? I mean, she sees in the battlefields everybody was killed, and she didn't see after that he died, but she'll say that he died. If she would say exactly what she saw, then we would be able to evaluate ourselves if it's enough proof. But she says that he died. I'm not sure why you don't interrogate her a little bit, ask her some more questions. Did you see how much that he's dead? But it seems that she'll say that he's dead, even though she didn't see that he died. She got the impression that everybody was killed over there. It was a losing battle, and she's going to assume that he also died, but not that she actually knows. Therefore, we don't trust her during wartime. And in terms of not throughout the chazia. And you might say that that's not such a big chash, because since everything's going well between them, they're in peace, harmony between themselves. So she would have waited until she would have actually seen if he's dead. She wouldn't have come and said that he died and get married only if she actually saw it. No, there's even a chash that even a woman who would really want her husband, but she sees the mochole begira over Rompa. She sees he was shot. He was shot by an arrow. He was shot by a spear. And she has reason to believe that he was killed. She saw he was shot. And she wasn't able to stick around to see if his mamish dead, and she'll come back and say that he died. So even a woman who has harmony with her husband and really would want him if he was alive, but she thinks that he's dead. So we don't trust them during wartime because there's too much room for estimating and assumption, and that assumption is not enough for us. I'm sorry, and the Gemara ends off because but it is possible, even though he was shot, it's possible to have some kind of a Rashi says tachboshet, some kind of bandage, or the Mefarshim say maybe some kind of medicines. It is possible to live even after being shot. So we're not going to take that as evidence that he died. Ad kan, what did the Gemara say? That's the end of the Gemara, that Gemara. But the reason we don't trust when there's wartime is because it could be that she's assuming that he died because there's something happened over there. There was a battle going on. Many people were killed. She might have even seen him herself that was shot, and she'll assume that he died, and it's really not enough proof. So we can't trust her. Next Gemara. Savar Rava Lemeimar. The Ravon Einik Mochama. Rava thought that a hunger is not like war. War is room for assumption and the dummy because there was a battle going on, people were killed, he was shot, and therefore she might say that he died even though he didn't actually die. She didn't see that he actually died. But during famine, there's no reason why she should have said that without knowing the facts. If she said that he died, it can be assumed that she's saying that he actually died. First, Rabbi initially thought that during a famine, if she testified that he died in the famine, so then she is believed because there's no reason that she should assume. She's in wartime, so then she runs away. She has to save herself, and she wasn't able to see mamish that he died. But in famine, there's no reason why she should be saying it. Estimating, assuming. If she says that he died, we can assume that she said it. Okay, so again, in all these cases, we're not thinking that she's lying. We think that she's estimating, assuming, and that's not enough for us. But here, there's no reason why she should assume. So if she says that he died, we could trust her.
In a famine?
In a famine. That's what the Gemara thought.
It would be the same as the war.
The Gemara says it's not the same as the war. The Gemara says that a Rabbon, there's no reason why she should assume. She'll see if he died, he died. If he didn't, he didn't. In wartime, she has to run away, and she saw that he was shot, and she's assuming that he died. Now the Gemara says, then Rabba changed his mind, and he said, no, that a famine is also like war, and also we don't trust her because it could be that she's assuming. And there was a story that happened that Rabba learned from the story, a personal experience. A woman came in front of Rabba. She said to Rabba, my husband died in a famine. But he wanted to test her out. He tricked her a little bit. Shaper of this, the Shays Besnavshach, who ported the Nafafisa, the Shafkisley, have a chai. So he did a little trick. Rabbi said, it's a good thing that you ran away, that you saved yourself. You didn't wait around to see that he actually died. Because would it be possible that a little bit more food that you would have left him, he would have lived? Like you saw that he was dying of hunger, and there was a little bit more. Rashi says that the word nafafisa means like the sifter, a little bit more, some scraps left in the sifter of flour. Would that be enough to save his life? So it's good that you went and you saved yourself because you wouldn't be able to save him, right? So she said, right. The Rav also knows that he wouldn't have been able to live with that, that there was so little food left and he was dying out of everyone knows you're right, Rav, you're right, that he wouldn't have lived. So he got her without realizing to admit that she didn't actually see him die. She didn't see him die. She almost dead, and not reasonable to think that he would have lived. And that's all that she meant to say. So you see, so Rabbi said, I see from the story that even by famine also, she says with the dummy, even though she didn't actually see him dead, maybe she had to get away also because she wanted to get some food, and she didn't stay around until he actually died. So therefore,
So maybe he lived.
maybe he lived, maybe, and she only meant to say assumingly with the dummy. So it's not enough proof. Then Rabbi went even further to say it's even worse. First he thought that is better, then he said that it's equal, now he said it's even worse. That's just even less belief. What's the case? By wartime, it's only, she's not believed if she says that my husband died in the war. Not that it was wartime, he died in the war. Then she's not believed because he might have been shot and she didn't, and she couldn't stay around to see if he actually died. But she saw that he was shot, and that's why she says bid the dummy. But if she says during wartime he died at home, so there's no reason why she shouldn't have checked till the end, and therefore she would be believed. But by a famine, it's more homo. That wouldn't be enough to say that he died on his bed, because that's how famine died. People die in their bed, but he's dying of hunger, and it could be she didn't stay around to see that he actually died. Like she said a second ago, she had to save herself, and she thought that he almost died, then no chance he's going to live anymore, so she went away already.
But
and
did she say Meis Hamita?
If she would say Meis Hamita, she also wouldn't be believed, because she could have mean that he was a ghost, Meis Hamita, he almost died, and to him that's enough, to her that's enough, and that's really not enough. And she only would be believed if she said I buried him. If she buried him, then there's no question. It seems in Muhammad also she would say I buried him. That's not a question. The Gemara talks about it, but it seems to be the Pasha. Pasha said the Rambam says differently, but the Pasha says that even in war, if she would say I buried him, so then she's not lying. Only question if she's assuming, but it has nothing to assume. If she buried him, then he's dead. Even if he wasn't dead, he's going to be dead. If he was now he's dead already. So that was the thing about, we had so far about Muhammad, then we had about Ravon. Now we go to the next subject about Mapolis. If there was something collapsed, a building collapsed, Mapolis, whatever it might have been.
Surfside.
What's the word?
The building in Surfside, Florida.
Right. So Haraykum Muhammad. Also, it could be over there that she's saying with the dummy that it fell on so many people and so many people died. Again, she could be that she assumed that he died, and not that she actually saw him dead. Don't with the dummy. She says with the dummy. Yeah, we have a few cases over here. Let's just highlight a little bit. We had the whole thing was about Muhammad.
But in war, something like that in war, if the body's never found and she didn't see him die, is she in a guna forever?
Yep.
Or is there a certain?
Yeah, that if she can't prove that the husband died, so then she cannot marry. We had a case of Muhammad, then we had a case of Ravon, then we had a case of Mapolis, and now we have a case of Shiluch Nechashim Rabin. Mapolis means that there was a avalanche, whatever. That he was bitten and died, and really she didn't see him die. So also, if she says that he was bitten by a snake or something like that, and he died, it could be that she saw him almost dead, but it wasn't actually. So that also she wouldn't be believed. How did the Gemara come so far? All these things they're not believed. Muhammad is not believed. Ravon is not believed. Napolis is not believed, and Shiloh Chashivim is also not believed. All these cases with the dummy. How about Dever? How about if she says that he died in a plague? Plague means like epidemic. Nowadays we have the science to know which virus it is, whatever, but that never means people are dying. Some say that it's also like a war, and she might be assuming and it's not trustworthy. Some say that it's not, and if she says that he died, we can assume that she's saying it as a fact. And the Gemara explains what the two stadim are. Some say that she might think that he died because so many people died, and really he didn't. But some say that's not considered a war, and she says so. She is believed. Because people rely on what the expression goes. That it could be even a epidemic for 7 years, and a person is not going to die before his years. I think it means that people say that people get out of the devil. Not everybody dies in the plague. Maybe only people that are not healthy, people before their time, young people, whatever, older people. I'm sorry, but people. That's how the expression goes.
Say it again. Shev
shnin, 7 years. Have a mosna.
Shev is 7.
Shev is 7. Shev is 7, like Sheva. Shnin is year. Sheva shnin. 7 years, have a Mosna. There was a dever. Mosna is another word for dever, a plague. There was a plague for 7 years. Be'inish, below shani, lo azal. And a person without his years didn't leave, didn't go, didn't pass away. And that means without years. So that means that they don't assume that everybody died in the plague. And the person, if he wasn't
Without his years didn't leave, sounds
they
like
don't
they
leave.
died before their time.
they wouldn't die without his time. He wouldn't die before his time. Below shni, I think below shni, Rashi doesn't say exactly, but I think it means without filling his years, he wouldn't leave. Azlo means he wouldn't pass away from the world. He wouldn't go away from the world before his time. There's a similar Gemara. They bring us Sanhedrin on the side. It says Sanhedrin over there. It says that even if there's a dever, but a person who has a good business over there, he'll be able to survive it. Over there, maybe it's talking about a famine. Okay, a similar expression, but it doesn't say it over there, so I wasn't able to know exactly the expression. That's my impression, that people say that a healthy person and his young, healthy person is not going to die in a plague. So therefore, she's not going to say that he probably died. Means that's the question. She says he died in a plague. Is she just assuming because so many people are dying, she also died? Or people don't assume that people die in a plague, and until they know for sure, they're not going to assume it. And if she said he died, so then he really died. So we finished those sugis. We talked about war, famine, polis, shidduch nechashim, and also dever. Only the last one was a question. Other than all the rest of them, it came out that they're not believed. She's not believed. The last one was a machlokus. The more continues. Bottom line. We didn't know that there's a war. If we knew there's a war, we said she's not believed. Because in the wartime, people say b'dadami. But we didn't know there's a war. She went to Medina Sayyam. She went overseas. She comes back and you should know overseas there's a war. But my husband died. Means without her information, we wouldn't have known that there's a war, and she would have been believed because she comes back. As far as we know, Shalom Ba'olam, she would have been believed.
What is chazika?
Chazika, she is the one who told us the situation. She changed the situation for us. She told us, like she was machzikit, chazaka. She gave us the information to say that there's a war. Chazika hi milchama ba'olam. She's the one who.
What if she told us?
She told us that there's a war. She told us that there's a war, but you should know my husband died. So she's like what we call pesha asa pesha iter. She's a migu. She could have just said there's a peace in the world. She would have been believed. Now she tells us this is a war. But you should know, trust me, that my husband died. So do you trust her or not? Why should she have lied? Which is another way of saying a migu. She could have not lied. She could have said the truth. She could have said a lie. If I'm lying, that my husband died, so then I could have said shalom. So you see that I'm saying the truth. But the Gemara is going to say the other side is that we don't think she's lying. We think she's making a mistake. She's assuming. So if it will be a question of lying, so then she proves I'm not a liar. But here the question is not a question if you're lying. The question is what did you see? And okay, here the Gemara goes. She didn't have to lie. She could have said that as peace in the world. She would have been believed. Once we know that there is a war, so now she's assuming. The fact was she says there was a war. So now we know there's a war. And just because she said that he died, we don't know because Amr b'dadami v'lo asi. It could be that v'lo asi mali l'shaka merach chazkase. The migu is not enough to take away the chazaka. I think the chazaka means the chazaka that he's alive, or the chazaka that is, she says b'dadami. But the Esimo's question. On one hand, she has a migu. She could have said that there's no war. But on the other hand, since there is a war, so it could be that we can't trust her, not because she's lying, but because she's assuming, and the assumption is not justified. So we don't, that's the question. Is the woman believed to say that her husband died, and she's the one who told us that there's a war? Tashma, Ishinu, or they say Ishnu Aleinu Bayis, Ishnu Aleinu Mora. So this was the Machavusa told me in the times of when I don't know the times, but when people were hiding in caves and things like that, and the soldiers weren't able to come in and just because of their strength to overpower them, because if they go in a cave one by one, so the way they used to get the Jews out, or people that they used to smoke them out. They'd make a fire by the cave, and then the smoke would fill the cave, no matter how deep it was, and they had all kinds of tunnels, but there would be no more air, and then they would force the people out. That's called to smoke them out. So Shem should see this house of Am Yisrael. But here it says the woman said that the enemy, they smoked up the house to get us out. They smoked up the cave, and my husband died, and I was saved. Who makes vaninin salty? Ain't in a menace. She's not believed. And here the case is that she's the one who told us the facts. We didn't know. We didn't know. She came and told us that we were in a situation that they were overpowering us. We didn't know that there was a war going on. And she told us that this was the problem. So as a migu, and says, ain't in a menace. She's not trusted. And we said, this was the question. You have to have a migu. She didn't have to tell us anything. She could have just said, Meis Bali. We didn't know that there's a war going on. So you see that she's not believed, even though she has a migu, that she didn't have to say anything. The Gemara answers, Shani Yasam, Dam Allah, Ki Hechi Bil Lidach Esrachas Nisa, Lididei Nami Esrachas Nisa. Over there, it's not a question. Here she herself didn't say anything. It's not saying, I know that he died. She's saying that they smoked out. She's not, when she says who makes, she herself is saying that I was saved. How were you saved? You got out of it. So it could be the same way you got out of it. He also got out of it. She herself is telling us that I don't know that he died. It's not because she says I know that he died, then we're saying that she's not assuming, she's assuming. She says, I know that he died only because there was smoke. So if she says that that's the fact, the only reason why she knows that he died is because there was smoke and no one could have lived. I got out. So she's telling us, I don't know. The same way, so we tell her, the same way you were saved. So it could be he was also saved. Just because you didn't find him doesn't mean that he wasn't saved. So it's not a right to our case. Our case is where she's telling us that he died. Here, she's not saying that he died. Here he's saying that he must have died because there was full of smoke. But we see it's not true because you see somebody lived even though there was smoke. So it's not.
But
yes.
in a mara or in a house.
Yes.
So around the house, you can see if somebody else comes out.
So it wasn't like everything was calm and she could have walked around the house and see if he got out. The enemy was trying to get him out. The enemy was smoking them out. So she got out, but it could be he got out the other way. He got out the other window.
And escaped.
Yeah. So in the same way that she escaped, it could be also escaped. So that she herself is telling us that it's not enough proof to say that he died. Tashma, the Gemara tries again. So that was a proof the Gemara tried to say that she's not believed. And the Gemara disproved that it could reject it. It could be that she would be believed. We don't know yet. Tashma, the other way. Nafto Aleinu Goyim, Nafto Aleinu Listim, who makes V'nitzalti, Nemenes. Here's a case where she said that the Goyim attacked us, or robbers attacked us. He died, and I was saved. Here it says she is believed. Why is she believed? If there's Goyim, it's like a wartime, that maybe she's just saying with the dummy, she's just saying that she thinks so, she had to get away herself. So it's a case of with the dummy. But the fact that she's the one who's Mechadish, why is she believed? It must be because she is believed, because she's the one who told us the whole situation in the first place, and she has a migu. So this would be a riot to our Mali the Shakir. This would be a riot to the tzad that she is believed. Before the Gemara brought a riot she's not believed, then we rejected it. Now we're bringing a riot that she is believed. But the Gemara says no, it's also not a riot. Pasam Kili Ravidi. That would be Ravidi's point. Then Ravidi Isha Klezain Ola. A woman always has her defense weapons with her. She always can be defensive. What does that mean? That a woman is not scared of a band of goyim or a band of robbers because the goyim don't want to kill a woman as much as they want to kill a man because they have their own interests about znus. So a woman is more protected, and the woman herself is not scared. She's not scared of being killed as much as the man is. So it's not like wartime. In wartime, she had to run away. And over there, she says, "Bid the dummy." She couldn't wait around to see if he's dead or not. So over there, we have a chash bid the dummy. But here, she's saying that there was goyim that were attacking us. She's not scared of her life, and there's less reason to be choshesh, she was saying with the dummy. So it's not because of the migu, it's because it wasn't wartime. This is not considered wartime. So the Gemara at this point, the Gemara doesn't make a raya either way. The Gemara doesn't make a raya, the Gemara doesn't know. The Gemara asks the question, is she lemon if she's a migu? If she's the one who told us the facts in the first place, that there's a war, is she believed to say that I saw that he died? Or here also, Yechoshesh with the dummy, the Gemara doesn't answer the question. The Gemara brought a raya not and rejected it. The Gemara brought a raya yes and rejected it. So we don't know. The Gemara brings a new story over here. It comes a little bit into the subject of how much proof do you need that somebody died, not only if she's believed, but the Gemara is going to go into the subject, how much proof do you need that somebody is dead? The subjects are a little bit overlapped. So the Gemara starts the story. Who gave the Bishili Hilule, Isli Nu Abeganani. A man at the end of his chuppah means at the end of his wedding, caught on fire. The chuppah caught on fire. The place where they were living, the house where they were living, they caught on fire. So the wife, the new colleague, the new bride, she said, Chazuga Roy, come see my husband. My husband's caught on fire. Asu Chazu Gavra Charucha, the Shadi, Upista the other the Shadi. People came and they saw a burnt man. They couldn't tell who it was. They saw a burnt man, and they also saw a hand. Besides the man, they also saw a palm of a hand that also was there. The rest of the man is not there. They saw a man plus a hand.
What's
Charucha means burnt.
Oh.
It seems they couldn't identify him anymore. But she said, my husband, and we see a hand. We see a dead man that's singed in a way we can't tell who he is, and we see a hand of another hand, another man. So what's the question? Is that enough evidence that her husband died?
What does the hand have to do?
So who's the hand from?
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense. She's saying that the guy that's burnt is my husband.
Right, and there's another person over there who at least his hand got burned off, and then maybe somebody else.
Right.
So here the Gemara said the Rav Kiva thought that she's not believed that this is her husband. The same way we said before that if the house was smoked or the cave was smoked, we said over there she's not believed to say that he died. And the Gemara thought it's the same thing. It doesn't make sense so far because here she said this is my husband and here he is. So the Gemara is going to say in a second what he thought. But Amar Rava, no, here she is believed. Midami, it's not comparable to the case of the smoke over there. Over there, she didn't say, come and see my husband. I mean, she said that this is my husband who's burning. And then when they came and they saw a dead man that's burnt, so that's the man she's saying, I know this is my husband. The shadi, here is more evidence. So before, we don't know anything. She comes and says, my husband died. The whole story is only Galpeh. She comes and tells the story. Here we see that there's a body over here. So there's more reason to think that it is the husband. And she is believed. But what did Rav Chid Ravin think? He's the one who said that we don't trust him. This is Rav Chid Ravin over here. He thought that she's not believed. And the one was trying to figure him out. What do you mean? It's the same case as the case of the smoked house and the smoked cave. Rav Chid Ravin, okay, a little slower. That the Gemara says Rav Chid Ravin was not impressed the fact that there's a man here that's singed. Because you have a singed man, you also have a hand. So there's two men over here. So who's who? That means that it's possible that the singed man is the husband. It's possible, and he's dead. And then somebody came to save him and lost his hand. And that man went away. So it is possible that she's right. But it's possible the opposite also. It's possible that the man who came to save him, he's the singed man.
Right.
And the chassan is the one who lost his hand and ran away because of shame.
Right.
The pista the other, the shadia, and the palm of the hand that's over there, Nura Islia, the guy got caught onto the chassan, and he got a blemish that he lost his hand. And because of shame, he ran away. He didn't want to, and really he's alive still someplace. So it's not enough reason to permit the wife to get married because it could be that her husband is alive with one hand, then he's embarrassed to come, and therefore he went overseas and
he's still alive.
So therefore, this is a yesod that has to do with shouldn't happen, but that if there's an iguna, it isn't so simple to permit the husband because maybe he ran away with a mum. Means even if there was September 9/11,
sure.
and if they don't have evidence that found the body,
right.
So it could be that the person got a bad mum and he was embarrassed and he would run away and we don't know about it. I don't know what the poskim or what the poskim say, but
there were stories that he was on the phone with her, with the wife. He said goodbye to her, and I think they took it. That was good enough because it wasn't,
it wasn't possible to live.
It wasn't possible depending on the floor he was on.
Right.
From a certain floor, then nobody could have lived after that.
And then and they couldn't identify bodies. They just found bones. There was no way to know that. But if he was on the phone and then he said whatever, then I think they took it.
Okay, this is the sugya. This is the sugya. The sugya is here, and you might say that if he didn't come back, he couldn't have lived in he was starved to death after a month. He surely didn't come out. So, but this is one of the sugyas that they talk about, that it could be that someone got a mum and he doesn't want to come back. And it's a question is he wouldn't even call up to let his wife or something. That's what they talk about. Okay, I don't know more, but this is the sugya about how much evidence he needed that somebody died in order that his wife should be able to get married. Next sugya. There was a question about Dustin by the tragedy of Rachel Weiss. Eliezer Weiss is
he was outside the bus,
and she was also. Then she went inside to get the children, whatever, and then the question was: is there enough evidence that she would perish? So it has to do with this again, and because here that was Negeo because to marry the sister, that to marry somebody else, a man's allowed to marry another woman even if he's married, but he wouldn't be able to marry the sister. So that was a question that came to the Gedolim. If there's enough evidence, why?
Was that like a war? It was like goyim.
It's not a question of it. It's a question how much evidence do you have that she died. This Gemara says that even if somebody has was surely in the problem, like here that he lost his hand, is there a chance that's not enough evidence that the person died. So of course it's strange if they're alive that they're not going to let us know, or maybe they're not able to let us know. Whatever the case might have been, that's the sugya that was brought before the Gedolim.
She went into the bus to save the children. after a bomb went off?
Yeah, it was,
Yeah, I
she
think
went
you're right.
out and it was
Right.
burning and her children were still
burning.
in, so she went back in.
And they
He
couldn't-
tried to go back in and they refused to, they wouldn't
So,
let him
and
go back.
she burnt up.
Yeah.
She burnt up.
At the end, they did find evidence. I think they found evidence, DNA and something like that, that they were able to. Shem Shid Rahman Islam Israel. Ibailu, next b'milchama. So we thought the whole parak so far spoke about a woman. We said that the parak before in the 10th parak spoke about Eidecha, that one witness is believed to say Mace Bala. And over there we said maybe it's combined with the fact that she wouldn't get married because Daika Mitzvah, because there's so many consequences, she's not going to get married unless she knows for sure. But that parak spoke about Eidecha. This parak speaks about her own, that she comes and says, testifies that I know my husband died. In our parak, it said that the woman is not believed to say that her husband died in wartime. Because in wartime, she might be assuming that she didn't really know the facts.
Mhm.
And that wants to know, how about Eidecha? The parak before, over the 10th parak that spoke about that Eidecha is nema to say that the husband died. How about if it's wartime? Now, the Eidecha, I'm just saying introduction, that the Eidecha has no reason to say with the dummy. He has no reason to assume. The woman that wants to get married, she is Negeh, so she says, I saw enough that I could assume that my husband is dead. And maybe she's wrong assumption. And that's why our parak says that a woman is not believed wartime. The Eidecha doesn't have that. But the Gemara wants to know, why is the Eidecha believed? And really, the Gemara spoke about this in the beginning of that parak, that why is the Eidecha believed? The Gemara has two studim over there. Is it because the Eidecha is believed? If Eidecha is believed, there's no problem over here, because if he's going to say that he knows that he died, he knows that he died. He's not going to say any assumption. But it could be the Gemara over there said that Eidecha really is not believed. It's only because of combination that the woman is going to check out because of the consequences, and we're really trusting her investigation. If that's so here we're skeptical about her investigation, because since it's wartime, she might assume things that are not really a fact. So that's what the Gemara's question. To trust the Eidecha in wartime, do you trust him? Now, time of the Eidecha behem and misham the miltz labit leguyehu lo meshaker. Usually Eidecha is not believed, but the Gemara says there is a certain emanas to an Eidecha in the case which could be revealed. Means at the end the husband could come back. So if he's going to testify that the husband is dead, then the husband comes back. That's called, everyone's going to know that he's a liar. So is that the reason why you trust an Eidecha? If you do, according to that side, so he's not going to lie. If he says, I saw the husband dead, and then the husband's going to come, that's going to prove him a liar. So he wouldn't do that. According to that side, he'd be able to trust the Eidecha even in wartime. But maybe, Odilma, an Eidecha is not enough of a trustworthiness to be able to permit her to get married. It's only together with the combination that she's also going to investigate. The only reason why you trust an Eidecha is because the woman herself is going to be accurate before she gets married. She's not going to get married on the suffix. She's going to make sure. If so, to take out the parentheses, over here she's not going to be so accurate because she might think the Muhammad during wartime. She assumes that things happened. She got shot and this, and she finds out she wasn't there, but she finds out, and people tell her that they know that he was shot, and she'll take that as enough of an evidence, and really it's not enough. So that's the most question: do you trust the Eidecha as far as wartime? A woman is trusted, but is not trusted in wartime, and Eidecha we're trying to figure it out. Rami Bachama comes to bring a right from a Mishnah coming up at the end of the Masechta. So we had many times that Eidecha is believed. It was mentioned in the parak before, in the 10th parak, that Eidecha is believed. And now the Gemara at the end of the Masechta says it isn't so simple. That many Tanam did not hold that Eidecha is believed to marry off a woman, to remarry a woman. Only one opinion holds like that. Rabbi Kiva says, when I went to Chusla, Rabbi Kiva lived in Eretz Yisrael. But at one point he went to Nardo in order to make a leap year because he wasn't able to in Eretz Yisrael, probably because the Goyim didn't allow it. So he had to go out of Eretz Yisrael to a place where they were allowed to, the Goyim wouldn't stop them. So he went to Chusla. So Matzasi in Nechemia Ish Beis Li, I found this man, Tana, Amali, and this Tana Nechemia from Beis Li, he told me, Shamati Shem Nasi and Asich Eretz Yisrael, I heard that in Eretz Yisrael they don't rely on the testimony of Eid Echad to marry a woman, to be Matra Naguna, to be married, to say that her husband died, even though we said the Eid Echad was that one. I heard that in Eretz Yisrael they're not so much on that shita, only Abidim and Baba. Only one Tana holds that, and I heard that everybody else is Machmer. And Rabbi Kiva said, I said to him, means I told him, yes, that's so. The only Abidim and Baba is Matir to get a woman to get married with the testimony of one aid that her husband died, and everybody else argues. Amali, so Nechemia, Ish basically told me that he's right. Everyone should know Bilim Above is right. And Molahem, tell the Sanhedrin, Mishmi, in my name, Atem Yodem Hamdina Azu Mishabeshes Begaises. You know that this country is all kinds of problems with brigades, battalions, that there's all kinds of goyim that are very aggressive and attacking. That you're allowed to. That even though you didn't know, all your chachamim you don't know, only B'dam and Baba, I'm telling you a testimony that Rabbi Gamliel said that you're allowed to. And we'll see later on at the end of the Masechta what happened with the end of that story. But anyway, what did he say? The Messiah we pass like this. We pass like Rabbi Baba, like Rabbi Nechemia Beis Ish Beis Li, like Rabbi Gamliel Azaken, and that ending story over there. Everybody agreed that you're allowed to marry a woman, the testimony of an Eidecha that her husband died. And the Gemara was trying to figure out how about if it's a Muhammad. So these words that are said in the story over here, he told them, tell them in my name, you know that it's full of battalions. Mishemeshes begaisos. What is that? What does he mean to say? Doesn't he mean to say that now it's wartime and there's a lot of problems happening, a lot of agunos, and I'm telling you that the Eidecha is believed. That sounds like he's saying that Eidecha is believed even during wartime. Whatever, even though the country is so messed up with wartime, but you're allowed to marry a woman with the testimony of one aid, and it's according if that's the shot in the Mishnah, so it says that says that the Eidecha believed even during wartime. So that's what the Gemara wanted to be a raya. Rami Bacham wanted to be a raya from this Mishnah that Eidecha is believed even in wartime. But the Rava said that's not the shot in the Mishnah. Medina Zoo. They should have talked about Medina Zoo. He says, you know, that this country is full of gayasos. He should have said that wherever there is gayasos, even when there are legions and armies, Eidecha is still believed. Why does he talk about Medina Zoo? See, you got the pshat all wrong. It doesn't say that. Nechemia Ish Beis Li meant to say, Atem Yodim Medina Zoo Mishabeshes Begaisos will actually the Mishbak Inchi Beis Eyamaisi Kamera Banan. He's just explaining why I don't come myself. He said, tell the Chachamim in Eretz Yisrael, I can't come to testify. Really, I should come myself to testify such a thing. It's worthy enough that I should come to testify myself, but I can't because it's full of wartime and I can't leave my family now. So, but you know, this is the Masorah that I have. Before the word Kach, I read the word Kach before wrong. It says Kach Mekuvlani, okay, I said the wrong word. Anyway, the first Gemara thought that it says that even during wartime, I have a Masorah that Eidecha is believed. And then one says, no, it doesn't mean that. It means I can't come to testify myself in front of the Chachamim because of the wartime. So you please be my shliach to tell them that there's a Masorah from Gamliel Azaken that you're allowed to marry a woman with the testimony of one aid. So it's not a raya. The Gemara thought it had a raya that Eidecha is believed during wartime, and the Gemara rejected the proof. The Gemara goes on to bring another proof. Tashma, one line before it spreads. There was a story, two Tamil Chachamim were coming together with Abu Yossi ben Simai on a boat, on a ship, the Tava, and it drowned. And the issue is about these Tamil Chachamim, if their wives allowed to get married. It doesn't say what happened to Yossi ben Simai, but it doesn't say what happened to him. But the Hisi, Rabbi Nishosen Alpin Nashim.
It means the boat drowned?
The boat sank.
The boat sank.
And there were women that testified that these two Tamil Chachamim died. And Rebbe said that the wives could get married. And Rebbe permitted their wives to get married through the testimony of women that said that they know that they died. And now the Gemara is going to make an equation. He says here that women are believed to say that someone died in the Yam. And the Gemara is going to say, so far is the Brisa. Brisa is over. Now it starts the Gemara. Water is the same thing as war, that there's an issue of bidadami, that you might say that assuming that you saw enough to assume that he's dead, but there wasn't enough, not enough evidence, and people also have to say to themselves, they're busy, they have to run around, they have to run away, they have to swim away, they can't stay around to see for sure. And also, women have a din of Eidecha. Even if you have many women, they have a din of Eidecha. So women testifying in the sea that somebody died is equal to Eidecha testifying that somebody died in war. And here it says that they are believed. Rebbe said that's enough testimony. If you say that even the Eidecha is only believed when there's no Chashav B'Dadami, he shouldn't have trusted them over here because maybe they're only testifying that they think that he died. Even though they say he died, maybe they think that he died, but really they didn't die mamish. They saw him being tossed around in the water, and how could they have lived? But it could be
Are
that
they wives?
why
Are they wives or they're just women?
women. What's the difference if they're wives? They're not the women. They're not the women themselves. No, they're not. They're not the women themselves. First of all, nothing. Yeah, a woman. That's the whole parak. That a woman is believed to say her husband died. That's the whole parak so far. A woman is believed to say her husband died. Only if there's a chash b'dedami.
Yeah.
Here, and so you're saying the women themselves would surely not. No, we don't mean the women are saying the wives. Women don't mean wives. Woman means a woman. A woman has testimony. So the wives themselves that we said before, they're not believed. If it would have been the wife, but here it's Eid Echad. What's Eid Echad about it? Because it's a woman. Even if you have 10 women, it's considered only Eid Echad. So if you say that women are trusted, are believed, to say that the man died in the Yam, that's equal to saying that Eid Echad is believed to say someone died in wartime, and you don't say B'dedami, which just to translate what the Gemara said before, that you don't need the combination that the wife is also going to be documented. So if you need the combination of the wife, here we don't trust the wife because she's going to assume. And if it says here that they believe, that means that you can believe the Eid Echad without the combination of also being the testimony of the investigation of the wife. So you see that believe. But the Gemara says you got it all wrong. Can't be. But Tisbra, you got the whole shot wrong. There's going to be a mission later on that when someone testifies that they saw somebody drown, it depends if it's never-ending water. It's Ma'am Shein themselves. It's a big sea. There's no, you don't see. It's not a closed pool or something like that. A closed lake. That's Ma'am Shein themselves means you can see the other side. We'll see more details. If somebody sees that somebody went down in the water, in Mayim She Yeshla himself. So then, what?
We think that he sees that, and then he'll save himself.
No, we see it didn't come up.
Oh.
We see it didn't come up. He stayed there long enough to see that it didn't come up. And I see all the ends. I see it didn't come up. So over there, what? Over there, it's a good testimony that he died.
That's ain't so.
That's Moshe Yeshlam so. If there's a lake that I see the end. I see all around.
Yeah.
And I see somebody go under.
And we see that he didn't come out.
Right. And I see him come out half hour. Mm-hmm. So I know that he's dead. Ma'im She'elam so that it's a big sea. You don't see what happened. So even though you see he went down, you don't know where he is. You don't know what happened. So over there, you don't trust that he died. It's not enough evidence. It's not enough evidence to say that he died. So that's the most kasha that this story was the case of Ma'im She'elam. It was a boat. It wasn't a lake. This was a big boat in the sea. So it doesn't make sense. How could you, the way you're understanding the story, that they just saw that he went down, didn't come up, and it's considered a case of bid'dami, and it's like Mulchama, and the women are, the whole story doesn't make sense, because if you see somebody went down underwater and Ma'im She'elam, so it was not enough evidence to marry the wife, that the wives could get married. So it must be the story was different. What was the case over here? The Amri Askilu come on, that these women, they don't say that we just saw them go underwater. They say that they pulled out their dead bodies. Askilu means they took them out. Askilu come on. We saw them immediately, because if you don't see them immediately, then it gets deformed and you can't say evidence anymore. And we know that it's them. The Kami Simanim, the Lava, and they're saying Simanim, that how they know that it's the same person, whatever the case would be, a Simon Muvik, whatever, how they're able to identify the body.
Common means immediately.
Which one?
The last word.
Kaman means lefanenu.
In front of us.
Right, and the word immediately is the word la'alter on the second page.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
And the Kami Siman are also saying identification marks. The lav alai samchina, we're not being samach on them, Allah simanim. We're being samach on the simanim, so it has nothing to do with our question. So the Gemara thought that this was a case of Eid Echad being believed in Mulchama, because it's a case of women being believed in by the Yam, and it's all considered the dummy case. And the Gemara says that the Gemara thought it's a right that they all believe and you don't care about the dummy. And the Gemara says no, it's not the case. It's a case where there's mamish imanim, nothing to do with the women. They know we saw the dead bodies mamish, and we know who they are. So that's the reason that they believe. But it wouldn't be a right to our question. So once again, the Gemara asked the question and brought a bias, but they brought some proofs, but the proofs didn't hold. And the Gemara just goes further. We don't know the answer to the question. It's like you buy the Lipshita, the Gemara didn't answer the question. Is the Eid Echad believed in war? We leave it. The Gemara goes further. Now I think that according to what I understood, the Gemara just goes now pretty much on a cruise for the rest of the page and tomorrow's page. Tomorrow is half a daf. So I'm not sure, but that's how it seems. The Gemara starts. Could be parentheses, but if it's parentheses, there's going to be parentheses till the bottom of the next page. So we'll make parentheses. There was somebody who gave as in custody that he should watch his poppy seeds. Poppy seeds, right? I'm sorry, sesame seeds. Sesame seeds. Shum. Then he asked, give me back my poppy seeds. I gave you 2.5 kilo of poppy seeds. Amalei, she continue. You took it already. I gave back to you already. You have to put in here Amalei. There's right here after the word shakaltinu. If it says it or not, that means that he replied. The custodian replied, shakaltinu. I gave back to you already. You took it. And now the mafkid, the owner, he said, it was a certain amount, whatever it is, 2.5 kilo, 2 kilo 600, and it was in a certain chavis over there, and it's right there. What you told me you gave back to me? Don't you see that there's 2 kilo 600 right there, and it's my sesame seeds? I gave you back yours, you took yours, and this is different. It happens to be 2 kilo 600 also, but it's not yours. The Gemara, the Chisda taught the same case as the Tamid Chachamim. Why does the Gemara understand? I'm not sure what the Havamina was, but the Gemara says, how do you know that it's the same Tamid Chachamim? They saw 2 people, and that's the story with the boat over there, and the boat that drowned, that sunk. So it says 2 Tamid Chachamim, they drowned in the boat, and then they pulled up 2 bodies, and they said this is the same one. So the fact that we're not choshesh that it's different ones, maybe it's different bodies. So the fact that 2 bodies went in and 2 bodies came out is probably the same ones. So too, over here, if this is the sesame seeds that came into the drawer, it came into the chavis over there, and you still see the same thing, so we should assume that it's the same one. He's telling a story that I gave back yours, happens to be another 2 kilo 600 that I put in over there. That's already fishy. The fact that we see before that you could assume that the Tamid Chachamim that drowned, or Tamid Chachamim that were pulled out, we're not choshesh that it's different ones. But the Gemara says that we don't say that these went away and these are different ones. We say it's the same one. So too, by the same way by the Tamid Chachamim that you say it's the same one, so too by the sesame seeds, we'll say it's the same sesame seeds and it belongs to the owner, not like the custodian is saying I gave it back to you and this is different ones. Rabbi said to Rav Chisda, no comparison, me dummy. Over there, they're saying identification marks about these 2. It's not just they're saying that 2 people died and they pulled up 2 people, it must be the same people. Here we know that these are the 2 people because we have identification marks. But over here, what do you have? You have sesame seeds, you have sesame seeds. So what's it? 2 kilo 600, that's the point. The fact that he says the amount, exactly how much it was, that happens sometimes. People go to buy 2 kilo 600. It's not definite that it could be that it's a coincidence that it was the same amount. Not after that's a raya. That's not the same raya as a simon. A simon is going to be like a simon mufak. In order to identify the bodies, you have to have good simanim. But here it could be something that's coincidentally similar, but not a raya that it's the same ones. So it happened to be.
Yeah.
So now the Gemara goes into a subject. We're going off the subject now. We're going into the subject about if something was there, something was put in a certain place. Are you choshesh that it got cleared away and that something else came in its place, or do you assume that since it was put over there, it's the same thing still? To Abi choshesh that it was cleared out means what do we say over here by the sesame seeds? Even though there were sesame seeds and there still are sesame seeds, there's a passage. He says that I cleaned it out, but these are other ones. Abi choshesh that happened. The Gemara is going to bring a comparison of something which is not mamish the same case, but the Gemara is putting it into the same category. Are you choshesh that things got cleared out and something else came in its place?
Choshesh means that the guy could be lying who said he cleaned it out. What does choshesh mean? Because
is there such a possibility? It means
in other words, we think it's the same sesame.
Right, and he says it's not. Is there such a possibility? Could we be concerned with the possibility that it was changed?
That it really was changed.
And here the issue is very strange because here we want to make him pay money. He says, I gave you back the sesame seeds. And we want to be motzi mechavera. We want to say that he has to pay. And he says, it's not the same. And we say, probably it is the same. People, even though he says, I took it out, I cleaned it out, and this is different ones. The only kasha on him is that it's the same amount. It's the same amount. Is that mamish the same amount that the other one had?
He's supposed to have a shover or something?
No, I don't think so. They didn't make a contract when they had a big gun. He had to be. I don't think. But Hashem also not allowed to steal. He has to give it back. And he's saying you didn't give it back. This is mine. It says staring you in the nose. It's mine. And he says no, it's mine. And it's different sesame seeds. He agrees that I He doesn't say that it never happened.
Yeah, I had them and everything.
And this happens to be also the same amount of sesame seeds that you gave me, but it's not yours. And the Gemara is leaning towards forcing him to pay because it looks very fishy that it was taken out. That it was cleaned out. We have a Mishnah. Masa kli because of kuf. It's korban. Mem is meiser. Dalit is dimua or demai. Tes is tevel. Tov is truma. That if you found a kli that has on it a letter, one letter, so we say that's an abbreviation and it stands for something. If it has kli that has on it a kuf, that stands for korban. And the mem stands for meiser. And the dalit stands for dimua, which demai they say stands for demai, and tes stands for tevel, and tov stands for truma. And you have to assume that whatever is inside the container has that status. If you find money that has a kuf on it, that means that it's designated for a korban. If it's mem, it's ma'aser sheni. If it's a dalet, it's the mai. If it's tes, it's tevel. If it's tov, it's truma. Shebashas hasakana, you close from tachas truma, because in the time when there was a sakana, Rashi says there was a sakana to do mitzvahs, so he couldn't write truma. The goyim would get him in trouble if he wrote truma. No truma. So they used to write a tov as a siman for truma, and all these other abbreviations also they did it as a siman. But the question is, what we're talking about, that it's true. Once upon a time there was truma in this barrel, but the fact that it's still there doesn't mean it's the same one. It could be that originally he had truma, and then he emptied it out to put something else inside. What would you say? He had what?
You should only put truma in.
And if he wants to put something else inside,
can you erase the top?
So they're saying you erase the top, maybe. They wasn't going to say that. I would have thought the same thing. The Gemara is looking at it that if there was truma, so we assume that it's still truma. You don't say that it was emptied out. The Gemara is going to say that maybe it's different. But you want to get right from here that you don't say that it was cleaned out. If there was once truma put inside, you assume that it's the same truma. And here also, the sesame seeds, the Gemara is assuming that if we know sesame seeds here was from the mafkid, so it's still the same ones, not that it got emptied out and he put it in. Other ones.
The sakana is that maybe the Goyim didn't allow people to do
trumas and mitzvahs.
To do mitzvahs, and trumas and mitzvahs.
Right. That's what Rashi says. So far, you brought to me a proof from the Reish over here that you're not choshish that he emptied it out. I'll bring you a proof from the end that you are choshish. You're not choshish that it was emptied out. Keep on reading. Over there it says, even if it says truma, not only a tough, it even says truma. Also, you could assume that it's chulin. Shani Omer, Ishtak have a mali truma. Upina, that once upon the last year it had truma in it. That's why it has a tough. It says truma. But now we emptied it out, but there's something else. So it means that this issue about being choshish was emptied out. Look in the Reish and the Sefer. The Reish says you're not choshish, and the Reish says you are choshish. So it's a machlokes tanam. So you can't just say that we are not choshish that it was emptied out. You see some holds that it is emptied out. And the Gemara is even stronger to say that usually everybody would say like Rabbi Yossi that it gets emptied out. Everybody would say that things do get emptied out. And if we had the sesame seeds, the nifkan is going to be believed that he emptied it out and he put it in different ones. By Truma Machlokes is like this. That one man says that if he would have emptied it out and put it in chulin, he would have erased. This is what Yaakov says. He would have erased, like the word kaper, to wipe away. He would have wiped away the letter of tough, because if you're going to put it in chulin and it says on a truma, so everybody knows that you're labeling it as truma. No one would do such a thing. And what does the other one hold? He's going to put chulin in and leave the label of truma. Maybe he forgot. He really meant to erase the label of truma, but he forgot. The Panchaya Shavke, Rashi says, and the other Mefarshim, that it means that he wanted to scare people away, that he didn't want them to eat it. He didn't want them to eat it, so he wrote that it's truma, in order people should stay away. But it was only a protective measure. So it could be that it says truma and it's not truma, but not that the issue is that it never was emptied out. People do empty out things. So at this point, the Gemara says that it's also not a proof. The Gemara thought it had a proof that people don't empty out the sesame seeds, and the Gemara rejects the proof, so it's not a right. The Gemara continues. All this is agab. We're on the boat, we're on the cruise about this kind of chash about the sesame seeds being changed or not, and the fact that it came 2.6 kilo. I'm just giving an example that the first one was a certain amount, second one said that's this amount, then maybe it's not the same. The Gemara goes into that a little bit. We have a few more minutes. We're starting a sugya now about two names. If someone has a name, are you choshish if someone has the same name? You have some kind of like Abiget maybe, and all kinds of things. Are you choshish that there's a contract or some kind of evidence about a name? Are you choshish someone else has the same name? Which is very similar to the sugya before about, he said that there was a certain amount of sumsum. I gave you a pikadon of 2.6 kilo, and now you come back and there's 2.6 kilo. Is it possible that the mikred, coincidental, happened to be the same amount? Or no, that's too much of a raya, and it's not reasonable to say that something else happened with the same amount. So the Gemara starts, Yitzchak Reish Galusa bar Achsei de Rabbeiboi. There was a person, his name was Yitzchak, and he was the Reish Galusa. That's a pretty big position. He was the exilarch, and he was the nephew of Rabbeiboi. This Gemara, I didn't look into it at all, but the case sounds very, very strange. Yitzchak, the Reish Galusa, the nephew of Rabbeiboi, have a cousin He was traveling from Cordoba to Spain. Cordoba is also in Spain, like Abusa told me. And he died. He died on the way. Some said he sent a message from the place that he died. The following. This is a quotation what they sent. A letter. Yitzchak, Reish Galusa, Bar Achsei de Rabbeiboi, have a cousin Cordoba. They sent notice that Yitzchak, the Reish Galusa, the nephew of Rabbeiboi, was going from Ketubah to Aspamia, and he died. So is there any question that we know that he died? Maybe there's two Yitzchaks with the same name. Yitzchak, the Reish Galusa is bothering me. Yitzchak Reish Galusa, like saying Vladimir, the president of Ukraine.
Yeah.
And then you say maybe there's another. Vladimir, might be a lot of Vladimirs, but there's not a lot. So I don't get it. The Gemara is asking, I didn't see more, but that's what the Gemara is asking. Is that enough proof that he died? Maybe there's another person with the same name.
And also Bar Achsei de Rabbeiboi.
Also Bar Achsei de Rabbeiboi. Like, how could it be? So it sounds like it's really too much. Maybe Reish Galusa is somebody's name. I don't know. Reish Galusa sounds like Exelar. But anyway, even that. Yitzchak, Reish Galusa, Bar Achsei de Rabbeiboi, on the way from Ketubah to Aspamia, and they sent message that he died. Maybe it's somebody else. Abaya Machashin and Rav Amulachashin. Abaya says Choshesh is somebody else with the same name. That's not enough evidence that he died. And Rav says you're not Choshesh. That's enough evidence. I'm Rabbi, how do I know that you're Choshesh? Rabbi says that you are Choshesh for the same name, and it's not enough proof. There was a get found in Arda, and it says on it, it said in the get, Betzad Colonia Masa, near the city Colonia. Masa means a city. Anna Androlinoi Narda, I Androlinoi from Narda. Patris Vatachis Yasplonis Intasi. I divorced my wife, it says her name, Plonis, whatever her name was. I divorced my wife. Patris is, I patted her, means I released her. And Tachis is, I was Megarish her, I drove her out. So it says get, that says the name of a man and the name of the woman from Narda, Andreloi Narda. Intasi is the last word of the document. Intasi is my wife. And the father of Shmuel sent Rav Yehuda Nasiya the question: Is this enough evidence that this woman is divorced? She brings a get that she was divorced because here it says that the husband, the man, Andrea Loinoi from Narda, divorced his wife Flonis. Is that enough? So Rav Yehuda Nasiya sent back Tibadek Narda Kula. Check out Narda if there's another Androlinoi over there. If there's not, then it's good enough. But you have to check it out. And Abai says the fact that I have to check it out, that means that Yechoshish might be somebody else with the same name. And if there is, so then it's not a good evidence. So Abai said, from the fact that he said check out Narda, that means that Yechoshish there's two people with the same name. That was Abai's proof, not from a Mishnah, not from a Brisa, from the story of Rav Yehuda Nasiya. The fact that he said you have to check it out, maybe it's somebody else. Rabbi says this proof is not good. In Misa, if it's true that Yechoshish, then you better call Olam. Why only check out Narda? Check out the whole world. Maybe there was Andrulai Narda that now is not there, but there was somebody from Narda, now he's in Mexico. And you have to go to Mexico also to see if Andrulai sounds Mexican, no? So yeah, you should maybe have to check out the whole world to see if there's Androlinoi from Narda there. It wouldn't be enough to check Narda. Maybe he moved. It must be not Choshish. And the whole thing doesn't make sense. You're not Choshish for anybody else. If you're Choshish for anybody else, you have to be Choshish for the whole world. So you're not Choshish. And even Narda also you don't have to check out. So why did he say check out Narda? Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya was just being polite. That Rabbi Shmuel thought that was a question. It means he's saying nicely that Rabbi Shmuel's question was really also foolish. There was no such question. Of course, not Choshish for another Andrew Loinoi from Narda. And the fact that Rabbi Shmuel sent the question to Rabbi Nasiya, so he said check out Narda. Just like the Mishum Kvodo, so he said, okay, look into it. But not that you really Choshish. So Rabbi holds that the raya is not a raya. So I'll stop here. The more is continuing because Abai said Yechoshesh, he bought a raya, Rabbi rejected it, and now Rabbi is going to say, how does he know that you're not Choshesh? So it's the middle of the sugya. If I didn't understand the next Gemara, so I'll leave it for my chavrusa. He'll be saying share tomorrow 9:30. There's Hashem on the Zoom, and
Right, so
I'll
you
see.
can stay home, you can stay home.
I can't, I'm out for 4 days now.
Oh, okay,
starting Motzi Shabbos.
okay. So Yishmael Sliach, Yishmael Sliach.
So I guess I'm the only one.
Because you're gonna be out of town.
I'll be away for Shabbos. I won't be able to make it Motzei Shabbos. So my chavrusa is going to say
for
the share.
Shabbos, but I won't be able to make
Okay.
Motzei Shabbos.
So Motzei Shabbos, the show will be 9:30. Bez Hashem on Zoom.
Elazar, you're invited here for 9:30 to be here, and God is gonna.